Everybody, thanks everybody for tuning in again. This is a whole new world, and we'll be getting started shortly with our guest, David Baird. All right, we're going live. All right. Glad to have everybody back today, this evening. This is a whole new world with your host, me, Jacob New. And we have a guest here, David Baird, to tell us all about how to start a and run a profitable nonprofit. But first, let's get to the dad joke. I'm going to start every episode with one of these bad boys. I can hear the groans, but it's all right. It's okay. What did the German policeman say to his belly button? You're under a vest. It was good. It was good.
So bad.
I love these reactions. I do one at the beginning of every class. But yeah. So, like I said, we do have David in the house. And so, David, let's start. Tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks for having me here.
You're welcome.
So, I'm David Baird, born and raised here in Dallas, Texas, the great country of Texas. Currently, my mother and my stepfather live in Dallas, and my little brother and my actual father live in Shreveport. Born and raised here, I actually moved to Oklahoma City back in 1994, spent some time there, and then, of course, moved back because Dallas is where it's at.
Yeah, I bet your bottom dollar it is. I don't know where I got that from, but yeah, I didn't know. Glad to have you back in Dallas. So, what is your background with nonprofits?
So I currently work as an agent for New York Life, and I'm mainly in the Frisco office. I do a lot of volunteer work, and my nonprofit comes from after I went to college. I went to college to become a licensed clinical social worker. Mm-hmm. And I went to do my internship at a nonprofit that served the homeless and the mentally ill. Well, I started group therapy there, and then I realized that I wasn't meant to be a therapist. Fortunately,
it's a tough job.
Yeah, it's a tough job. It is a tough job. Therapists actually have to be debriefed, which means therapy for the counselors as well.
Well, when you're taking on so much stuff, I would imagine that, yeah.
Yeah, but the good thing was I had a mentor there at the nonprofit, the vice president. He said, why don't you come work with me? Let me mentor you and teach you how to raise money, write grants, so you can fulfill your passion for our population, the homeless and the mentally ill, but not have to be so directly emotionally involved with the people. So I was like, great, okay. And so that's where it all started, really.
Okay. And so you got a mentor, and then kind of what happened next?
Well, so there's several things that go into having a successful nonprofit. Ours, we had a budget of $9 million on average.
Okay.
Which is huge.
Just a pittance, yes.
Yeah. And so there's several moving parts and working parts to a nonprofit. One of the most important parts is going to be your board of directors, because as a nonprofit, it's run like a corporation. A corporation has a board of directors. They set the goals and objectives, and that's how the corporation moves. The same thing with a nonprofit. The board of directors is going to be basically everybody's boss and set the goals and objectives for the nonprofit. The difference is if you have a board of directors on a nonprofit, you want them to have certain qualities and qualifications, such as you always want your board of directors to be advocating for your nonprofit.
Of course.
You want them to come from different backgrounds. So you want to have like a CPA on your board.
Okay.
You want to have an attorney. You want to have more of a mastermind for a board of directors.
So that way, if something comes up, you have that pool of people to pull from those resources. Okay.
Right, so you have that big, broader knowledge set on how to actually run the business and do business. Let those people bring their special skills together to help run the business more effectively. Also, you want them to be able to fund the nonprofit. Not only do they have to advocate, but you want them to fund and bring money to the table as well.
All right. Now, I'm not too familiar with starting a nonprofit, obviously, but so funding, obviously, that's a very important part of nonprofits. So you have your board of directors. Are they necessary, or can you get funding elsewhere? Like, where can people get funding?
Okay.
How can they go about it?
So funding is going to be different. Let me finish with the board of directors here
All
first.
right. I'm getting ahead of myself.
So the board of directors, they want to have the qualifications. They want to fund. They want to advocate. Also, your board of directors, there's going to be a different position, and you want them to have term limits.
Okay.
So the worst thing you can have is somebody be on your board of directors, but not participate, and you not be able to get rid of.
So kind of like the Senate and the president, like our government, kind of. Okay.
Exactly. If somebody's not effective, we need to be able to vote them out of office. Once you have your board of directors properly set up, then you get to figure out exactly what your nonprofit's going to do. What's your mission? What's your business plan look like? And then what population are you going to serve?
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt, but so you said you get your board of directors, then you figure out your mission and your. Why wouldn't you start the opposite way around? Why wouldn't you start with your mission and your vision and then look for board of directors? Could you do that as well?
Yeah, you could do that too. You could do that too, because you want to have everybody be on the same page.
Yes.
So, most people think of a nonprofit as being non-profitable. A nonprofit has to be run like a regular business, and to be sustainable, you have to make a profit. The difference with a nonprofit and a regular business is the profit from a nonprofit goes back into the programs and services of the population that you're serving.
Okay.
So it's important to have a good business model. So you want to have a good business plan, you want to have a vision statement, a mission statement, and a good board of directors to help you sustain the business.
Okay, so business plan, board of directors, then vision.
The vision, the mission, and
Okay.
then now going to funding, you want to make sure that you have your budget set up.
Okay, budgets. So that would happen, I would assume, after you've got your board of directors, you have your vision, or whichever order you do that. Then, so you come up with your budget, and then you're looking for funding because I need money for X, Y, Z.
Right.
Correct?
Exactly.
So then, how can people go about getting that funding?
Well, so there's several main sources. Depending upon what type of nonprofit you have, you can apply for grants and donations. Everybody's going to want to have donations. The other big thing is going to come from grants. That's going to depend upon what your mission is, what your values are, who you're going to ask. So there's an online service called the Foundation Directory Online. And what this has is over 100,000 listings of over 100,000 foundations and corporations that actually donate to nonprofits.
Okay.
The key is to find out what they give to. So some will give to women and children's programs, some give to veterans.
So you want to do some research beforehand, look at where are they giving their money to, does that align with my mission and my vision, and go attack it that route.
Exactly. So,
okay.
So that was one of the biggest things I learned from working at the nonprofit was how to be a good researcher, because we had to research and position ourselves with our grant writing to the people that wanted to give us money for our specific programs that we had. So we had a housing program, we had a child and adolescent program, we had an adult program, and various other programs. So we had to research and find out what foundations and what corporations gave to us, and then we would submit proposals to them.
So, going back to the research, is that easy to obtain, or do you have to go through more? Is it more legal stuff? How do you like? Obviously, like I can't just go to the library, could I?
Well, that's what the Foundation Directory Online is.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
it's the listing of 100,000 at least. They actually have more than that. The basic listing for 100,000 foundations and corporations that are going to donate. So you have to do your research to find out which ones are going to specifically fund your cause and your programs. Then you have to look at how much do they give and when do they give. Because some only give once a year, and they give you a specific window of when to submit proposals in.
So if you miss that window, you're out
Yeah,
of luck.
you got to wait another year. Some give on a semi-annual basis, and some give on a quarterly basis, depending upon how big they are. The good thing is a foundation, by law, has to give away a certain amount of money each year,
Okay.
which is good because they're like, okay, if they've given so much, and they actually let you
Is
know how much they've given.
is there a minimum that they have to meet every year, or they just have to give a certain amount that
Well,
like you gave?
Well, so they have to tell the IRS that we're going to give away $10 million this year. And then so they
I
have
see.
a year to give away that $10 million.
So they proclaim it before, like as the year starts. This is what I'm going to do. So they're looking to give that money to these nonprofits or these different organizations that match their vision and their goals.
Right, their criteria.
All right. So then you had said that y'all had $9 million in funding.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit how difficult was that to go and get that? Like, what were some struggles that y'all faced? Or even
Well,
just, yeah.
So we had to do basically what's called the shotgun approach.
Okay.
So
Just everything and everything, kind of.
everything. So for depending upon the program, we would be submitting proposals out to 10 to 15 to 20 foundations every year. So
Wow. Okay.
that literally meant that we had more than 100 grant proposals going out every year, because you have to understand the foundation is going to receive at least 100 requests for funding from
Yes.
various nonprofits.
So you're not going to get just because you sent it, you're not going to get it.
Exactly. Just because you send it, you're not going to get it. So we may get 1 or 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10, depending upon what the foundation is, how much they're going to give each year, and what our programs and services, how well we match their criteria for funding.
Okay.
And that's not the only way you can raise money. So a lot of people, you've probably seen golf tournaments.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
Or a golf tournament.
Byron Nelson. I don't. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
no. I'm talking about specifically for nonprofits.
Oh, those. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. I was like,
So, and then you probably heard of the 5K runs,
yes.
and then there's galas, events. Those are very popular. Well, they have like $100 a plate. You get to come, sit, have dinner, network with other high net worth individuals, and then there's going to be a keynote speaker come on, and they're going to speak, and then that's another way to raise money. So there's 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to actually raise money. The most important is to have a steady income from your grants and donors on a regular basis. Also,
Yeah.
that goes back to the board of directors. They should be giving you money. They should be telling their friends to give you money. That way you also have just a regular donor base.
So it sounds like I just need a board of directors. Just tell me to give me. That's what I'm hearing. Everybody needs a board of directors.
Everybody needs a board of directors, somebody to advocate, promote you, and to fund you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's my board right
Yeah,
now when
know.
I need it?
It's right there behind you. It's yellow.
Oh, it's a yellow
no,
board.
Yeah. No.
I want a green board. I want some greenbacks,
Yeah.
baby.
Oh no, right? All right. So, so you get your funding. So you go through the grant route. Now, is there another route they could go? Do they? I know you said the
Fundraising events.
yes, the fundraising events. If somebody wanted to, could they just do strictly fundraising events to start their get the money for their nonprofit?
Yeah, a lot of people do that. And so there's also different campaigns you have. So we were actually in the process of moving our location. So that's what's called a capital funding event. So
Okay.
people in foundations know that you're going to use a specific amount of money to either build or to upkeep your premises where you're working out of.
So they know this is where this money's going to.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it's not going to your programs. There's also things that, well, there's the catch-22. The reason why I mentioned the budget earlier is because any foundation is going to ask you what's your budget and are you staying on budget. Now, budget's just a projection of monthly cost, annual cost, and of course budgets are going to fluctuate. You may spend that much or you may spend more or you may spend less. But they want to see that you're doing your due diligence as a nonprofit and keeping your money straight. So they're going to look at that, and they're also going to look at your 990s, which are going to be your tax returns.
Okay.
Another very important part of that.
What are they looking for? Just that, like, it's matching like what you said? I don't know what I mean, you said it's tax return, but...
Very good question. So nonprofits and foundations, what they look for on your 990s is how you're spending your money.
So that it's actually going back into the nonprofit instead of just being, I'm going to buy an Xbox or, whatever.
Exactly. And so there's a good way for them to look at your 990s. One of the things the main thing that they look at is what is your administrative cost. So you can go to websites like Charity Navigator, and you can type in the name of a nonprofit, and it can pull up their 990 and look, and you can see where that money's being spent.
Okay. And that's for all nonprofits?
Not all of them are listed.
Okay. So they have to register?
Well, Charity Navigator goes out there and looks because a 990 is public information.
Got it.
Okay. And so they'll go out there and compile this information. Now, some nonprofits, depending upon the size of them, can file what's called a 990 EZ, which means they're usually making less than $50,000 a year, or they have a budget of less than $50,000 a year.
All right.
So back to the 990, the main thing they're looking at is your administrative cost. They're looking to give to nonprofits that have a 25% or less administrative cost, because that means that 75% or more of the money that they
going
receive,
into the actual organization and what they're doing.
right, it's going to the programs and services versus paying people's salaries.
Okay. I mean, and as somebody that would be funding, or I would care a lot about that. Like, if I'm giving money, I want it to go towards what you're saying. So that makes sense to me.
Right. So they're going to look at that and say, okay, how much did the executive director get in salary? And those are always listed as well. Another thing they're going to look at is how much are they spending on fundraising events. There was one that I was looking for. They were asking me for donations and for help. And I went out there to look, and they had spent $70,000 on their fundraising events.
Oh.
And which may or may not be a lot of money.
Oh, and if you get more back, I mean, it's worth it.
Well, that was the problem. They only made $23,000 off their funding events, off their events. So that means
not beneficial.
Yeah, so they spent $50,000, spent $70,000, and got like $23,000 return.
So it sounds an awful lot like, so I mean, like you said, it's like running a business. So when you're running you want to keep a tight balance sheet. You want to make sure that when you're putting money into something, you're getting equal or better return back.
Absolutely.
Okay. So so funding. So what else do people need to know about starting their own nonprofit?
Well, so in the beginning, when you start a nonprofit, there is the catch-22. They want to see how many donations you've received and what you did with money. Well, if it's your first year and you haven't received any donations, They're like, it's like when you go to get a job. They're like, well, you have to have experience to have this job. Well, how do I get experience unless I have a job?
Well, I watched my neighbor's cat once. So I mean, like, what do you put? Yeah, that's definitely I can see as a tough spot. So, um, well, how do people combat that, or like, what do they do?
Well, there are actually foundations and corporations that give what's called seed money.
Okay.
They understand that dilemma, and then they're going to say, okay, well, we'll give you $5,000 seed money to start your nonprofit with, because we know you can't just self-fund this forever, which some people actually do. And this is why it's important, if you have your budget and you have your business plan, because your business plan is going to be your roadmap. And if they see that you have a clear roadmap and you have a clear budget, they're more likely to say, okay, we'll give you the seed money to start this off. And then they'll also ask for matching funds.
Yeah.
So if you have some donors that see that we're going to give $5,000, if they could give $1,000 or whatever, then you have $6,000 to start off with.
And I mean, to me, that seems like that'd be a decent amount to kind of get started. You're shaking your head. I'm looking at your thing. I mean, like, if you're just getting into like the pot of money, I mean, so like what might I mean, I guess it's going to vary depending upon the different nonprofits. What should a nonprofit shoot for?
That's a great question, because, like you said, it depends upon the nonprofit and what their mission is. If you're looking at a nonprofit that is out of somebody's home, $5,000 can go a long way.
Yes.
If you have an office in Plano, Texas, $5,000 may pay for 1 month's worth of rent.
Yeah.
So, again, that's why I talk about the shotgun approach. You have to be applying to all these different things. You're actually gonna be applying for grants for way more than what your budget is.
Yeah. This you keep saying the shotgun approach, and it just keeps making me think. When I first started applying for jobs, my dad would tell me, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I was like, I don't even have eggs, Dad. Stop.
Do I have a basket?
Then, I was like, stop. You're old. No, but love you, Dad. No, but it's right. I mean, you don't. When I learned, I didn't listen at first, and then I learned. I didn't get the job, and so I just started applying wherever I could when I got out of college. And it's so hard for people even, but starting to get into the weeds. But I mean, it's important that when you're looking for grants and stuff, I think that a lot of times we have our hopes set on this, but we need to apply in all these different areas, and you never know, because you might not get what you want.
Right, exactly. So you didn't just send out one job resume to one company. You send out 5, 6, 7, or 8 with companies that had jobs in your area and your specialty, that what you wanted.
Yes.
Same thing. That's a very good analogy. I'm glad you brought that up. As well as we did what's called friend raising.
Friend raising.
So friend raising is relationship building.
Okay, I know a little bit about that.
Yeah. You want to build relationships